If a founder is starting up, what would you advise? How should they go about constructing their cap table for the first round of funding?
The way that I think about this, Shiva, is the same way that I would think about capital allocation when it comes to investing. Let's say you have $100 to invest. How would you go about doing? One, it's a function of your risk profile. And if it were to be quintessentially the same as everybody else's, you would say about 60 to 70% in what I would call a relatively safe asset. So let's say you'd put it in an index mutual fund, which is tracking the index. So you know kind of. Then you'd put about 20 odd percent in a small or a mid cap. So it's slightly more volatile, but over a period of time, it will give you some. And then you'll put about 10 odd percent, which will be like your play money. This will be, let me just buy Bitcoin. Let me just buy Ethereum. Hopefully not Doge, but buy something which is way wilder, but still saner in that ecosystem. Or let me just go and buy lot, whatever the case may be. And I'd argue that a cap table should also be in some way representative of the same. You need 60 to 70% people who are in it professionally. And that's the quote unquote safety aspect of an investor. You know that they have follow-on capital. You know that they are in it for the long term. You know that they have done it long enough to know that how it works. They're not going to get jittery if you have 1 quarter of a revenue miss and they'll be like, oh my God, give me my money back. They are professional and they understand this game well. And you ought to then have most of that money come through such people. You then have about 20%, which is what I would call friend and family association. These are people that you would take money from, but you're not really sure of how it will work out, whether they will lose their shit if money goes out or never comes back. Maybe a new investor, a new person on the in the market, somebody who's just dabbling with it, so on and so forth. And then about 10%, I think totally okay to have what I would call, with absolute respect, people who would pimp, like people who would talk you up, but they have nothing more to add. Like, so they look good on the cap table. They will open doors for you. They will add you just things which are around networking and schmoozing and creating your persona and so on and so forth. And by virtue of that, you would have those individuals. Now, by design, you can't have, the volume needs to match with the value as well. So it can't be that the 60% has just come from one person and then the 10% is coming from 30 other people, because that's poor management of your cap table. Which is why I believe all the syndicate approaches really help today, because they in some way mask the randomness and the chaos of multiple people on the cap table. They just have one line item. You have to deal with just usually a lead investor, at best two, and it just abstracts yourself from a lot of paperwork and a lot of such noise that you could find yourself in. And that is how I would think about that. Please don't make the mistake of getting too many people on the cap table early on. It becomes really, really hard to manage. Be very, very frugal with your equity. Don't give it away easily. You think it's only 10% this round, but what you're not aware of is it's going to be 10% every round from now on, because you set that kind of benchmark. Sooner than you know, you're down to low double digits or worse single digits, and then as a founder you're like, why am I even showing up when 90% of the value that I create is being taken away by someone?
Be very mindful and be strategic.